Miracle is the way things ought to be.
Some historical figures are remembered, others become symbols. Alexander the Great became something even bigger than that. He became an archetype. That's probably why, more than 2000 years later, people still call their children Alex, Alexander, Alejandro, or Alexandre. When a name survives for centuries across completely different civilizations, it usually means humanity kept associating that name with something powerful. And what's interesting is that Alexander is not remembered like most conquerors. Even people who know very little about history often describe him differently. Not just as a warrior, but as someone intelligent, cultivated, strategic, and curious about other cultures. Almost like a ruler trying to connect worlds instead of simply crushing them. Now obviously, part of the story became legendary over time. Most writings about Alexander came long after his death. So yes, there's probably myth mixed with reality. But even though, through the mythology, one thing remains clear. People saw him as an exceptional human being. A man combining intellectual, political, military, and psychological abilities at an extremely real level. And this is where the real question of this video begins. What would happen if someone like Alexander lived today? Not necessarily Alexander himself, but someone with the same type of mind, the same discipline, the same ambition, the same ability to think strategically while understanding human psychology and culture. Honestly, I think a person like that in 2026 would become almost unstoppable. And the reason is simple. The modern world is perfectly designed for expansion. Think about it. Alexander conquered enormous territories before the age of 33 years old. Greece, Egypt, Persia, parts of India at 33 years old. Meanwhile today, many people at that age are still trying to stabilize their attention span, trying to stop scrolling, trying to sleep better, trying to figure out what they actually want from life. And honestly, I'm not even judging that. Modern life creates a level of mental fragmentation that ancient civilizations simply didn't have. Alexander lived in a world of clearer direction. Clear enemies, clear objectives, clear movement. Our world is the complete opposite. Notifications, algorithms, infinite distraction, constant stimulation. Too many directions at the same time. And this is exactly why someone with extreme focus today would become dangerous in terms of influence. Focus became rare. Here is what makes Alexander really interesting. It wasn't only his military success, it was the way he approached conquest itself. He didn't simply invade territories and move on. He studied cultures, adopted parts of them, learned from people who were supposed to be enemies. He respected traditions outside his own civilization, and many people around him hated that. Even some of his own companions couldn't understand where he was mentally going, because they still thought in older patterns: win, control, dominate, enslave, and move on. But Alexander seemed to understand something much deeper. People cooperate more easily when they feel respected. And honestly, that idea feels more modern than ancient. This is also where the biggest limitation appeared. He was evolving faster than the people around him. His soldiers could follow him physically, but not mentally. They could conquer beside him, but they couldn't fully understand the vision he was trying to build. And eventually, that became a massive problem. An empire is not only territory, it's transmission, it's the ability to transfer vision into other human minds. And he had no real tools to do that at scale. No internet, no media, no online education, no instant communication, no global distribution of ideas, no ability to train thousands of people simultaneously around the same philosophy. And that changes everything. Imagine someone with Alexander's qualities, but with modern infrastructure, modern media, modern communication, modern technology. A person like that wouldn't only conquer territories, he could influence entire populations psychologically and culturally on a global scale. He could build systems, audiences, educational structures, businesses, global networks. He could explain his vision instantly to millions of people. And maybe that's exactly what was missing in his time. When he died, much of what he built collapsed rapidly, not because the empire was weak militarily, but because the mindset behind it was never fully transmitted. The people around him never completely caught up with his vision, and this is where things become uncomfortable for modern people. Today, we have exactly the tools Alexander was missing. We can communicate globally, learn instantly, access cultures from our phones, speak to millions of people online, create international businesses, learn languages, enter foreign cultures without crossing borders physically. In some ways, modern humans possess more expansion potential than any civilization in history. But here's the paradox. We have more tools than ever, yet many people feel mentally weaker than ever. More distracted, more fragmented, more dependent on stimulation. And maybe this is why so many people never build anything meaningful. Vision without structure remains fantasy. So eventually, everything comes back to one thing: direction. A desire becomes a vision. The vision becomes a plan. The plan becomes repeated actions. And repeated actions slowly transform identity itself. That's how conquest actually works. Not through one dramatic moment, but through focused repetition over time. And honestly, this is part of why I created these channels. Inside English, inside Spanish, Arabic, and Turkish. They are still small and still growing, but the idea behind them is expansion. Using modern tools to connect instantly with different cultures and different parts of the world. Something that would have been almost unimaginable for most of human history. And this is also why I believe learning languages matters so much. Because languages are not only communication tools, they are gateways into other mental worlds. And contrary to what people think, you don't even need perfect fluency to begin expanding your world. Sometimes a few words are enough, a few sentences, a small effort, and suddenly another culture stops feeling foreign. So maybe that's the real lesson here. Alexander the Great was probably born too early. He had the discipline, the ambition, the strategic mind, and the vision, but not the infrastructure. We have that infrastructure, but the thing is, many modern people lost the focus. Maybe the real challenge today is not access to opportunity anymore. Maybe the real challenge is becoming focused enough to use the opportunities already surrounding us. Because if someone with Alexander's level of discipline and vision appeared in the modern world, honestly, what exactly would stop him? If this idea of expansion resonates with you, we'll go deeper into it in the rest of the content. Thanks for listening and watching. See you in the next one.